Well, I think that one of the biggest myths with foodscaping is the idea that the critters are going to get everything. I think that it's totally reasonable to expect that critters are going to beat you to some of the fruit, and sometimes you may have no fruit from a plant, and that is a reality of what happens. Other years you might get tons and tons of fruit off of that very same plant. But what I think is not really talked about very much is the idea of growing fruits that are not like the shiny wax things that we see at the grocery store, but in a totally different place where you might have, bug issues, or you might have some, you might have a little fungal issue on your peach. And the idea of just walking up to a perfectly gorgeous peach with a little bit of fungal pressure that has created some spots on it, and just cutting that away and then eating the rest of the delicious fruit. This is what we need to get back to. This is the whole problem with our current industrial food system, is that we've created an expectation where fruits need to be so perfect, and then we come to think that anything less than perfect is just compost or trash, and that is a huge problem, and perpetuating the food waste issues that we have, but also not really even seeking to create this harmonious balance where we grow food as a part of nature, and if something isn't eating your plant, I think Doug Tallamy, who's a famous ecologist and written a lot, he says that if something's not eating your plants, then it's not really part of the ecosystem. So we need to be seeking ways to create this interconnectedness where something, whether that be a fungus, a bacteria, an insect, a mammal, where they're interacting as a part of this landscape, and then we can still get a yield. It doesn't have to be every perfect fruit, and it doesn't have to be every year, but we do need to plant a diversity of plants as well in order to maintain some of that. You lose this plant, but we get this plant. One of the myths is going to be that fruit trees require a lot of work, and I would say they can potentially require a lot of work, but I would also say, how much work are you already putting into your landscape? Aren't you going out and hedging your trees and mowing your grass and weeding and mulching every year? A lot of the work that goes into maintaining a fruit tree is really no different than maintaining any other plant in your landscape, and you get delicious bounty. So if we just transfer some of our resources over, I think that it is it's just an obvious choice. The other thing is that a lot of people are thinking about gardening, vegetable gardening, and vegetable gardening, I would argue, takes a lot more time than growing perennial fruits. So, with perennial fruits, we get this awesome equation of investing the effort ahead of time to plant something, and then every single year we invest less and less time into maintaining it while getting more and more yield, which I think is just this incredible equation. It's like a savings account, in the bank, whereas with vegetables, we have the opposite experience a lot of times. We got to rip everything out at the end of the year, and we got to kind of like compost and fertilize and start all the way over from scratch. But the opposite is true with an apple tree, for example. Every year it's more and more productive, more and more resilient against drought, and we have to do less and less.